Hi, everyone. So I wanted to create a video overview of the unified thesis and topic sentences that is more tailored to our second essay. Um, that said, these rules do apply to many different essay assignments. And so I want you to keep that in mind as I'm going through this concept of unified thesis and topic sentences. So as a reminder, your thesis must follow these four rules, okay? Your thesis must directly answer the essay question. So the essay question is, right, what is one lesson that you can glean from Connections Are Everything, and why is that lesson important? It should be one lesson and one specific why. And that connects to rule 2, which is that your thesis must address one specific express one specific idea only. Now, I italicize specific because, the thesis is kind of a dance. You are trying to find the right speed. Sometimes it can be too broad, which is not the right speed. And sometimes it can be too narrow, which is not the right speed. Your goal as a writer is to write a thesis that is as specific as you can make it, but sometimes you have to change the tempo of the thesis in order to capture the points. Ultimately, your thesis must capture or be an umbrella for your supporting points. So if you find that it's not an umbrella for all of your supporting points, then you might have to broaden that idea a little bit. And so again, the goal is as specific as possible, but while still understanding that the thesis has to capture the supporting points. It has to be an umbrella for the supporting points. That is black and white. It must be an umbrella for the supporting points. And so that specific one idea only kind of rule, one way that you can make sure, hopefully ensure that your thesis is expressing one idea only, is that you don't have addition words. So you don't have words like and, or, another, also. Eliminating those can hopefully result in a stronger one idea thesis. And another thing that you want to make sure you don't have are listing commas. Listing commas means that you are listing out different items. And therefore you might be listing out different ideas in your thesis, and you can only have one idea for the thesis. Another kind of way that you can get some help in hopefully expressing just one idea is if you write your thesis in one sentence. If your thesis is 4 sentences, then more than likely you are talking about multiple ideas. And so if you limit yourself to 1 sentence or 2 at the most, then you have a higher chance that your thesis is expressing one idea. 2 at the most, but 1 is almost always stronger. So I do want you to keep that in mind. If you can express your thesis in 1 sentence, that's usually going to be a stronger expression for your thesis. Rule 4 is that your topic sentences must have a love connection with the unified thesis, or vice versa. The unified thesis must have a love connection with your topic sentences. And the way you can show that is by borrowing key or echo words from the unified thesis. Those key or echo words make that love connection back to the unified thesis. If a topic sentence does not key or echo your thesis, you have 2 choices. You can revise your thesis so that it better matches what your topic sentences share, or you can revise your topic sentences so that they clearly connect back to the thesis. I have found when students are confronted with this scenario where their topic sentences are not matching up with their unified thesis, they tend to want to revise their thesis because it's harder to brainstorm new points. But I have found that every once in a while I have a student who tells me I can't revise the thesis. The topic sentences are just not connected. I have to revise my topic sentences. And that's fair, right? But ultimately, the topic sentences must connect back to the thesis. The thesis is an umbrella for those topic sentences. And we're going to look at this concept of an umbrella in just a moment. So we're going to study a diagram on the next page. In the thesis that we're going to see, I want you to note that the key words of the thesis are college students, meaningful connections, confidence, and uncomfortable situations. So those words should be in the topic sentences, okay, in some way, either directly as keywords or indirectly as echo words. So this is an umbrella, right, which is apt because underneath the umbrella, you have supporting points. And so the thesis or the unified thesis serves as an umbrella for the supporting points. Now, note that I didn't write out the complete thesis because the complete thesis would say one of the most important lessons in the book, Connections Are Everything, is that, right? But I didn't do that because I want us to really focus on the key kind of the specific lesson and the specific why it's important, okay? Notice that this thesis does not have any addition words, and it does not have any commas, and it's expressed in one sentence only. So right there, there's a higher likelihood that this thesis is one idea only, right? And so for this essay, that one idea is kind of a complex lesson plus why it's important, okay? And so the meaningful connect, so for this thesis that I came up with, the lesson is that meaningful connections in college give students confidence, right? Why is this important? Because they have to tackle uncomfortable situations. So college students oftentimes confront uncomfortable situations, but when they make meaningful connections, they gain a level of confidence in order to tackle those uncomfortable situations. And so that's why it's important, right? We have to tackle uncomfortable situations. And so these meaningful connections help us do that confidently. Now, notice that the thesis is kind of a concept, right? It's an idea. It's not concrete at all. But the supporting points tend to be more specific and oftentimes more concrete. Not always, but they tend to be more concrete. And so the supporting point here, there's something about, okay, so I have to write about some meaningful connection and some way that it gives a student confidence and some uncomfortable situation, right? And so all of my supporting points have to contain that logic. And notice that the unified thesis is a bigger idea, right? And the supporting points are narrow. And that's because the supporting points capture a specific narrow idea. And the unified thesis captures kind of a broader, specific idea, hopefully, but still it's a broader idea. It's a bigger idea. And the supporting points are going to be specific, narrow ideas. So let's look at a couple of supporting points to see if they have that love connection back to the unified thesis. So again, meaningful connections, college students, confidence, uncomfortable situations. I have to give a more specific perspective connected back to this unified thesis. So let's look at the first topic sentence plus explanation. Note that when we write our points, we really want to write topic sentence plus explanation. Because if you write just a topic sentence by itself, one, that's not going to develop into a TS very well because the TS requires the explanation. But even just from this check of, is my point connecting back to my unified thesis, you kind of need the whole point to really make that check, okay? So let's look again. The keywords are meaningful connections, college students, confidence, uncomfortable situations. Let's look at the first point here. So when college students make meaningful connections, right there, I already have the meaningful connections with their classmates, they're more likely to have the confidence to speak up in class. So, okay, you have to make meaningful connections. This helps you speak up in class. But this doesn't have the logic of the uncomfortable situation just yet. So let's see. Speaking up in class can be a very uncomfortable situation for many college students. But it's also necessary, as that is often a way that a student can express confusion to their professors. And so the thesis said that the lesson is that meaningful connections in college give students the confidence to tackle uncomfortable situations. So we have a meaningful connection with classmates. That's a more specific focus. And when students make meaningful connections with their classmates, they are more likely to speak up in class, which really kind of is one of the more uncomfortable situations that students encounter. This speaking up in class, however, is necessary because that is a way that a student can express confusion to their professors. Okay, so I'm seeing meaningful connections, I'm seeing college students, I'm seeing confidence, and I'm seeing the idea of uncomfortable situations. So I need to see another point about a meaningful connection giving confidence for an uncomfortable situation. Let's see. Another uncomfortable situation that college students encounter is asking for help. But the book shows how college students can meaningfully connect. Okay, so I see the meaningful connect, this time with college advisors and counselors who may offer a more comfortable space that inspires students to feel confident in asking for help. So again, this idea of discomfort, but this time is shown, more as like, if you connect with your college advisors and counselors, you may find that you are tackling an uncomfortable situation because they offer a more comfortable space, right? And again, it's inspiring students to feel confident in asking for help. So we have the connection back to confidence and uncomfortable situation and meaningful connections. So I would come up with 2 more points that are related to this idea of how a meaningful connection in college can give students the confidence to tackle what are uncomfortable situations, right? That's the broader lesson. And then these are the specific points that are all connecting back to that broader lesson. And so this is an important, concept because really it applies to all essays. The unified thesis is the broader umbrella idea for the whole essay, and the supporting points are the specific ideas that are related to that broader umbrella. And you use key and echo words to show that your topics and your points really are having a love connection with your unified thesis. For this essay, know that there's no solution logic, right? Because this essay really is an analysis essay. You are analyzing the book in order to extract what you believe is the most important lesson and then break down how that lesson is captured in specific, behaviors or scenarios that happen on a college campus. And of course, your points are one idea only, one specific idea, right? Our points are very, very specific, very small, very specific, all connected to the broader unified thesis. Okay,